Alright, so it's time for the monthly-ish Q&A. I didn't do one for January as I was working on the Fire Emblem Engage review, but hey, first Q&A of the year, so let's kick things off with a bang. Alright, first question from Gravity Hero. It could just be me, but I feel like people these days don't value the writing that goes into killing off a character or the emotions that come from it. I feel like all anyone cares about these days is shock value. What do you think? I completely agree. I really feel like it comes down to, honestly, I'm going to expand it a little. If there's like this large portion of the anime community that just they want the death, they say, hey, characters in a show like an Attack on Titan or even a Don Machi, they live too long after establishing things are violent. They're like, oh man, they're just taking too long. But then if you kill characters off too quickly or do it too often, then it loses any importance because it's just mindless fodder. I mean, people die just like that. Someone died in the world, right? So I feel like there's a section that sometimes gets pandered to that basically just get shocking gore fest or just meant to be shock value deaths. But then there's also people who, they kind of exaggerate, like, oh, you know, they're killing too much. And just, there's a whole mixed bag of emotions I have with it. Ultimately, I think there's a time and a place for a good death. And I think in a show like, say, Don Machi Season 4 as an example, without going into specifics, the entirety of Season 4 has been building up and making it seem like everyone has a giant death flag over their head. Will everyone end up dead? I mean, as of the recording of this, right now, seems like maybe they all could get out of it. But I think there's value in having things look dreadful, but then letting characters overcome that to make their reward feel all the more warranted. But a good shocking death, definitely, there's a time and a place for it, and it can lead to great discussions. But there does seem to be an increase of people just wanting that shock value rather than the substance, and honestly, it is a little disappointing. Alright, and we got a double question from Rajvir Malhans. What are your thoughts on Ash leaving the anime and his upcoming final special season? As well, did you get Pokemon Scarlet/Violet? Would be interesting to get a video on your thoughts if you plan to. So first things first, just want to throw my thoughts out on Scarlet and Violet. I did play, I got it on release. Originally, I had plans to do a video, as I did do a video on Legends Arceus. But honestly, there was just too much negativity upon release, and I'm not saying people can't be negative about things, but once I see a certain large portion of the internet just feel very negative about something I'm clearly enjoying, I don't feel like getting hate comments to the point, because honestly, I still have PTSD about Promised Neverland Season 2 because I was overly fine with the season. I wasn't on the hate train. I had just very, very bad experience. So for me, if I just have clearly a different opinion than the masses currently talking about it, I just avoid making a video. But I did play it. I think there was a lot of technical issues with it, but it was an absolutely fun game. I think Arceus is still the better of the two games, but I mean, if we can have Scarlet Violet type mechanics and a Legends style mechanics in two different types of Pokemon games, I'd be absolutely okay with it. It should have been delayed by probably 3 months at the very least, but it was a good game. I did very much enjoy it. As for Ash leaving the Pokemon anime, honestly, I never thought I'd see it. For a long time, like if we rewind back when I was in high school, back in like, I think the discussions I was having these around like 2011-ish, I remember talking with friends at the time being like, Ash will never win the Pokemon League because then the anime would have to end. And then eventually got to the point that, okay, well, he won the Sun and Moon anime, right? And I was like, okay, but was that really a Pokemon League and the same thing? So once it was revealed that he actually became the champion we used to all follow, and if for some people they actually followed the whole thing, I thought to myself, okay, well, here's the thing, right? They're just gonna reset it in a way. Maybe he'll become a mentor, but no, like, the new anime is coming out, brand new characters, and honestly, I gotta respect it. It's sad in the way that, like, you know, something that's been a part of the anime for so long is finally coming to an end, but the fact that they actually let him win after a couple animes back, like, he should have won that tournament, and it just felt like such a blue balls because his Greninja and everything was just so, it was the perfect time to let him win. So it kind of feels like redemption, and the fact that they're sending him off, I mean, I don't really have plans to make a video on it, but I'm happy to see what they're doing with that anime and proving many people wrong. So from Spongy Games 3, are you into cartoons, not just anime? I think I've answered this before, but hey, I'll throw this out once again. I always have different thoughts and feelings. I think last time I mentioned Ben 10 and stuff like that, but you know what, I'm a big fan of pretty much anything from like classic Cartoon Network days. I mean, there was that era like when I was growing up where you had just, like, you could turn on, you'd be watching Dexter's Laboratory, then you'd be watching Codename Kids Next Door. There was just a golden age right there. But honestly, to throw my hat way back in the day, classic Looney Tunes still holds up very well. You can find a clip from any era and just have a good laugh. So from Action Vids 35, do you plan to talk about the new Percy Jackson show once it comes out, or stuff like Alice in Borderlands? So probably not. I mean, once it's out, if you want to drop a comment on my thoughts, remind me, I might drop it here. But honestly, it's something that I just don't feel like it fits the channel. I think games and anime work quite well together, and there are certain things like an Alice in Borderlands or a Squid Game that can work out. It all depends on how the internet's reacting at the time and if I feel like making a video for it or if I have the space for it. So kind of mixture of, do I think there's an audience for it that meshes with my already current audience? Do I think I have the time for it? So probably not, but if you do want my thoughts, just ask another question once it's out and I'll probably feature it in a Q&A. So this is from Slobbertooth13. My question is about part 6 of JoJo as a whole. I know you're not reviewing it because of Netflix, but now that it's done, do you intend to make a video talking about it? Basically, I reviewed the first part and I thought what Netflix was doing with them licensing was at the end of the season that it was airing weekly in Japan that we'd get the next batch. And then they delayed it like 9 months and then they released Core 2 and then shortly after they dropped Core 3. I still haven't watched Core 2 or 3 of JoJo Part 6. At this point, I'm best just rewatching it. Do I have plans on making a video of it? Probably. So my plan right now is I have my Patreon, which is doing quite well. I have a bunch of live reactions. I do live reactions for basically every show I cover on the channel. And one of my goals is once I get to 200 patrons, I'm planning to do stuff that I maybe haven't gotten around to doing. So I think probably what I'll do is once I hit that eventually is I'll cover all of the episodes that I haven't already watched over on Patreon in live reactions, and then most likely once I'm all caught up, maybe doing one final video. So basically that's my plans as it stands. So this is from the same person. The reason they mention it like this is because I answered them in the comments. So they're saying scratch it, but no, I'm still gonna answer the previous question. What isekai would you recommend to a person who really doesn't like the genre? So it's kind of hard, like you have to really break down, like, are they newer to anime? Are they older to anime? What is their preference? But I think a good rule of thumb, I think ReZero's a very easy one to get into. It kind of covers the basics of how characters get transported. But I mean, you can even go into stuff like Digimon, man, like that counts as isekai. So he kind of has to like look at what they like, what they don't like about the genre, or if they just think they won't. Like if they have like a very strong opinion about the genre, then you really have to, you got to know their preference, right? But I think if you're looking at the most basic version of it, of characters transport to another world, Digimon Adventure, man, it's a classic for a reason. But if you want something a little more recent and I think hits the sweet spot for a large portion of fans, I think ReZero is one of the best you can pick from, in my opinion. Zach Alexis, in your opinion, what qualifies more as a great anime? An anime original or an anime adaptation of a manga or light novel? I honestly think both can be equally as impressive. Don't get it mistaken. I mean, when you have shows that are completely not based on anything and came out swinging and said, hey, this is just quality. Look at PA Works. Like everything PA Works touches is like 90% of the time is an anime original, and the stuff they do is unlike anything being produced. So things like those I look at and say stand above just a good anime adaptation. But there are those anime adaptations that take it to the next level, and I think a show like Chainsaw Man did exactly that. So if you're a PA Works anime original recently or a Chainsaw Man, I look at those as being relatively equal. But if we're just looking at a generally good anime adaptation or a generally good anime original, I'd probably put the original slightly above. And that is all for this month's Q&A. If you got any questions you'd like to see featured in a future Q&A, let me know down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and hey, subscribe if you happen to be new around here. Like I mentioned, we got full live reactions going on over on my Patreon, so if you want to see some exclusive, very good content, and hell, you'll even get early access on Q&As like these, head on over there and consider supporting. So, till next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.